Today, the open roads are ribbons of concrete stretching to the horizons. Calling to the motorist with the promise of unrevealed panoramas, they are magic carpets sweeping across the country, making the Roman roads look like pathways of dust. Not only changing the face of the land, they are removing the family from the home and wafting them to faraway places. With bright skies overhead beckoning the eager nomad, modern facilities await to serve him with excellent restaurants and overnight accommodations. Where do they come from, and where do they go? From New York to California. From Maine to Florida. From Hawaii, Alaska. From everywhere to everywhere. An effort to reduce road hazards is made through driver training, introduced at the high school level. With the cooperation of local automobile dealers who supply the vehicles, the regional high schools furnish instructors and training. Responsibility is stressed. Rodeo competitions offer opportunities to exhibit skill and win prizes. Cruising through the countryside brings nature closer, and carefree horses offer a friendly welcome. The cattle recline suspiciously, while the padlocked chain proclaims the champion approaching for a closer inspection of the invaders. The surging sea sings its siren song, and some respond with the sport of fishing. While for others, fishing is a way of life. With the reaping of the harvest, nature prepares to welcome the winter. Trees and bushes are painted with colors rare before they shed their leaves. 55 years after the first automobile hill climb was held, old car owners gather at Eagle Rock Avenue in West Orange, New Jersey. Pioneers of the days when highways were more open than road, they are away and running to repeat the contest. Winter has cast a mantle of snow across the land. The river freezes and ice boats skim the surface. It's spring again. Buds appear. Flowers raise their heads. The winding roads of Newark's Branch Brook Park attract with breathtaking displays of cherry blossoms. Some recline on the grass. Some prefer boating. While some go gliding by. Off the eastern Maryland shore lies Tangier Island, Virginia. Reached by a mailboat, which makes one round trip a day, the island was originally discovered by Captain John Smith in 1608 and was settled in 1686. Today's population of 900 are mostly descendants of the original 4 families who settled on this 4 by 2 mile outpost of the colonies. There is 1 doctor, a minister, and no police. Among themselves, a form of colonial English is spoken. Commercialism has not reached here, and the only industries are crabbing, fishing, oystering, and clam digging. The front yards are often the location of the private cemeteries of the immediate families. The main street is too narrow for automobiles, although it serves as host to young swains riding their girls on scooters on summer nights. In Monmouth County, New Jersey, the deserted village of Allaire harbors most of the buildings as they stood in their original settings. Once a self-contained community with church and school, a complete ironworks operated here from furnace to foundry. The furnace still stands, surrounded by the encroaching forest. Restoration is proceeding slowly with the enameling furnace and the bakery almost completed. The residence of the park superintendent was restored in 1930. Not all of the buildings have retained their preservation, and some have collapsed completely. Since the acquisition of the grounds by Arthur Brisbane, editor-in-chief of the Hearst newspapers, the village has sheltered the summer activities of the Monmouth County Boy Scouts Council. The Niagara River is actually a great spillway 37 miles long, connecting Lake Erie with Lake Ontario. Midway, with a mighty thunder and billowing spray, it encounters a precipitous drop of 160 feet. These are the world-famous Niagara Falls. Though far from being the highest falls in the world, its reputation has been gained by the volume of 1.5 million gallons that pass each second. As the river passes from the falls, it arrives at the whirlpool. Here is the scene of recovery of many of those who traveled by barrel. Overhead, a Spanish aerial car traverses between the Canadian shores. The Rainbow Bridge leads into Canada, replacing the Arch Bridge, which was destroyed by ice in 1938, the foundations of which are still visible. The most beautiful scenes by far are visible from the Canadian side of the falls. Here, both the American and Horseshoe Falls may be seen in their full majesty. The plaza on the Canadian side is dominated by truly beautiful formal gardens. In earlier years, visitors to the falls were often entertained by daredevils. Some walked across the falls by tightrope. The Frenchman, Blondin, was the most spectacular of all. He ran, turned somersaults, walked backwards, lay down, walked with baskets on his feet, carried a man on his back, and once carried a stove with which he stopped midway to cook a meal. Both men and women have attempted to go over the falls in various types of barrels. Few have survived. In 1883, having conquered the English Channel, Captain Matthew Webb died in an attempt to go over without any protection.
On Garrett Mountain perches Lambert Castle, the former residence of a manufacturer. Now the headquarters of the Passaic County Park Commission, the building overlooks the city of Patterson and is the center of the surrounding recreational area. Sussex County in northern New Jersey, near the tri-state border of Pennsylvania and New York, is the site of the Gingerbread Castle. Although a modern note permits arrival by a toy train, the theme is based on the Germanic fairy tales by Grimm in this land of make-believe. Tours are conducted by boys and girls transformed into Hansels and Gretels. Some of the original millstones decorate what was formerly the grounds of the Wheatina breakfast food mill. The house of the old lady who lived in the shoe is also here, and Humpty Dumpty sits on his wall. In 1913, while on a leisurely cruise up the Connecticut River, one of the great figures of the American theater, William Gillette, was captivated by the beauty of the spot. Deeply impressed, he designed and constructed a castle atop the loftiest peak. Today, the Dream Castle is a museum, and the extensive grounds are the Gillette Castle State Park. Home of the 17th century Dutch trader Philipse became known as Philipse Castle. However, it bears little resemblance to the usual conception of a medieval castle. Located on the east bank of the Hudson River at Tarrytown, New York, the grounds are still being excavated for artifacts through the generosity of John D. Rockefeller, Jr.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war, and we are met to dedicate a portion of it as the final resting place for those who have given their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work that they have thus far so nobly carried on. It is rather for us to be dedicated here to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That the nation shall, under God, have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
At the town of Mystic in the state of Connecticut, a colonial New England seaport has been reconstructed. Streets, stores, tavern, and churches retain the true colonial... Giant clamshells are similar to those used by the Pilgrim forefathers. Name boards from long-departed ships decorate the buildings, including the stern plates from the racing yachts Resolute, Enterprise, and Weetamo. The Resolute, New York Yacht Club, defender of America's Cup against Sir Thomas Lipton's Shamrock IV in 1920. In 1930, the Enterprise defended America's Cup against the Shamrock V, and the Weetamo of Boston, eliminated in the 1930 trials. First here is a Charles W. Morgan, last of the wooden ships that sailed from New Bedford. Between 1841 and 1921, he made more than 100 voyages. Built in 1882 as a Danish naval training ship, the renowned Joseph Conrad today serves as a youth center. In 1934, the famous Captain Allen Villiers, who recently piloted the Mayflower replica from England to the United States, sailed the Joseph Conrad around the world. Branford, Connecticut is the home of a different type of reconstruction. Here at the Trolley Museum, staggering sums and endless hours of work have been expended by an enthusiastic group in saving these cars from the scrap heaps. Back-breaking labor has been required in the restoration of the right-of-way and mundane chores devoid of glamour. Old streetcars from cities far and wide are being reconditioned and preserved for posterity. Necessary to the upkeep of a railway are various work cars, snow plows and sweepers included. The suburbs of New Haven still permit a ride down memory lane. As night draws a curtain of darkness, fireflies of head and tail lights illuminate the open road.